In this video, we're going to explain the process for creating a good thesis statement. And to get to everything you need, it's at this Library Media Center website, libraryjhs.com. And you'll find everything at either assignments here or the research tab up here also. And there's a link to the video and also the file you need, which is the worksheet for developing a thesis statement. So download that from here. So the thesis statement. Essentially, it makes a claim that somebody else might not agree with. The thesis statement needs to be arguable, and you're going to provide that argument. Usually, it's short at the very beginning of your paper or research project, but it can extend into a couple of sentences, even a full paragraph, depending on your topic. But you want to keep it as short as possible and to the point. But the good thing is that this thesis statement development is worth the time you put into it, because it becomes the plan for your whole research. So it keeps you on task and keeps you going in the right direction. But all is not lost if you think you're going in the wrong direction, because you can make some changes. You just don't want to make big changes. You want to keep it small and adjust slightly as you're going along if you need to. And what it does is avoid vague and general language. So you have to be very specific, to the point, and make sure that you are avoiding the first person. We don't care about you. We care about the information you found to provide us. We really don't care what you think. There are three types. You've got explanatory, which is pretty obvious, right? It explains something. Analytical, again, you're going to analyze the topic in a little bit more detail. And then argumentative, you're going to be a little bit more bold about what you're saying and what your claims are, and you definitely want to have specific evidence to back it up. So an explanatory thesis might look like this. In the first one, we are simply saying that people listen to different music based on where they live. Okay, and then you can just explain what you mean by that and show some evidence to back that up. And same thing for the second one. You're saying that a certain type of music is derogatory to females. So you have to prove that that is true by giving some evidence, backing it up, and explaining it. In the analytical thesis statement style, we are breaking down the subject in a bit more detail. And as in the first case, we're explaining that we think that students spend more time on social websites than doing research for a project. So here you'd have to prove that and analyze the data that you found. And then in the second one, we're saying that soldiers in war are more confident when they know they're being backed up by airstrikes coming in. So again, you're going to have to, like it says, analyze first-person documents and show that that is true, and that's how soldiers were feeling. In the argumentative style of thesis, we have, in the first case, a very bold statement saying that essentially that you think that the US made mistakes, and that's what led to Pearl Harbor. Okay, obviously this is a research paper, so you've got to back this up, and this is a bold statement, so you really do have to have the evidence to show that this could be the case. And then in the second one, you're saying that military service is something that we should bring in order to achieve a certain goal, which here is make people more mature and more disciplined. So again, very bold statement. You have to have the evidence to back it up in your paper. Here are two examples, and we've got television is too violent for children, explanatory thesis, very basic, very much to the point, but still a valid thesis. You just have to be able to have get the research to show what you're trying to explain. And then in the second one is more the argumentative style, because the statement is saying that a certain action leads to another behavior. So you have to be able to show the research for that. Again, both valid thesis statements. So to work through the sheet that you've got in front of you, hopefully, it would look like this. In this case, we've got video games is the general theme, general topic that the student wants to look at. They've broken it down in the second area into video games and education, and then turned that into a question saying, are video games educational or are they just fun? And then got to an actual thesis, working thesis that's saying that video games are beneficial to increase student understanding of school topics. Okay, again, a good thesis, but we've become more specific in the final thesis by saying that war-based video games are the ones that are good for students to understand specific wars and wartime strategies. From that, you would logically have some questions, and it would lead your research in certain directions. So first of all, you're going to have to explain what types of war video games there are, what options are out there for people to play, how well those games were reviewed, perhaps. Are they realistic? Is there anybody I could interview that has been to war but also plays the games so they could tell us what they think about whether they're realistic? And then, has any research already been done in this area that I could use for this research project? And finish up with an example from the Civil War. If that is going to be your topic, you started out with the North and South fought the Civil War for different reasons. Okay, perfectly valid. But what were they? So then you've gone into it a little bit more detail and said that the different reasons can be explained as moral versus self-governing. And we know there's North and South, so let's be even more specific. And in the final thesis statement there, we can see that we're saying that the Northerners believed in the moral issues and the Southerners believed in the right to self-government, and that's what was behind the war for the North and for the South. So that's a thesis statement development. Take your time with it, make it work, use that worksheet, and within no time you'll be able to work your way through to a very good thesis statement.